Here are today's news top stories and why they matter. Mozambican police have been accused by Amnesty International of being involved in the deaths of nearly 400 people during a 3-month post-election crackdown. The killings followed disputed elections last October and widespread protests led by opposition figure Venancio Mondlane. Political tensions in the gas-rich Southern African nation have since calmed down after a surprise meeting between Mondlane and President Daniel Chapo. So what are the key highlights of the Amnesty report? Well, the police and the army reportedly used excessive force, including live rounds and indiscriminate shootings against peaceful protesters, injuring over 3,000 people, the youngest only 9 years old. A man live-streaming police action was allegedly shot dead. Internet access was throttled during the protest. At least 10 opposition officials have been killed since the vote. And now what next? While tensions have eased, Amnesty International is calling for impartial investigations and legal reforms to ensure security forces uphold human rights. The government did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the Amnesty report. Meanwhile, Uganda's parliament is set to debate a bill that could reinstate military trials for civilians. This comes just 3 months after the Supreme Court unanimously declared the practice unconstitutional. The move has sparked fears of deepening authoritarianism, with critics warning it could be used to silence political opposition. So for context, here's DW's Frank Higa with what you need to know.
The legislation is contained in the Uganda People's Defense Forces Amendment Bill 2025. It seeks to allow civilians accused of gun-related crimes to be tried in military courts. It follows closed-door meetings between President Museveni and ruling party MPs who hold a parliamentary majority. Opposition leaders argue that the bill violates the constitution and accuse the government of bribing MPs to support it. Prominent opposition figures like Dr. Kiza Besigye and Haji Obedi Lutali, currently facing treason charges, are at the center of the political storm, with critics warning the law could target them. So, what next? The bill's passage would reverse a landmark Supreme Court ruling and could further erode public trust in Uganda's democratic institutions.
Executive wants to have an arm of the judiciary through the army. And that's the overreach that they create through the military courts, having power to try civilians. It violates the constitution. It violates all principles of rule of law, because the executive becomes the investigator, the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury. And that's, that's a miscarriage of justice.
Thanks, Frank, for that. And finally, China has appointed a new trade envoy as the world's second-largest economy pushes back against US President Donald Trump's swinging tariffs on import that sent global market tumbling. Li Shenggang has assumed the role of representative for international trade negotiations and Vice Minister of Commerce. Li, who is 58, previously served as Beijing's ambassador to the World Trade Organization and deputy permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. Why does this matter? This appointment signals a more assertive, possibly strategic response to renewed US tariff pressure under Donald Trump. With trade tensions escalating and tariffs on Chinese goods soaring 145%, Beijing is reinforcing its negotiating team just as global economic stability hangs in the balance. And what's next? Li's deep legal and diplomatic background could shape the next phase of China-US trade relations. And all this comes as China says its economy grew by 5.4% year-on-year in the first quarter, beating expectations, even as US officials warned that US tariffs were exerting certain pressures. And that's all we have time for today. Are you interested in constructive analysis of news happenings? Just hit the subscribe button, like, and comment on the stories we highlight. DW Africa is the channel's name, and I'm Chinaza Samuel.